What are you using?
I acknowledge you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, exactly 10 years and 8 years ago, 10 years and 8 days ago, Madam Speaker, on January the 18th, 1999, this Honourable House passed the Antigua and Barbuda Hospitals Board Act 1999. And with your permission, Madam Speaker, I quote, to establish the Antigua and Barbuda Hospitals Board to be responsible for the administration, management, and overall organization of the hospitals in an efficient manner and for connected purposes. End of quote. Madam Speaker, to give a little genesis of what had transpired under the previous administration. The clear intention, Madam Speaker, of the Antigua Labour Party at that time was to ensure that we had effective arrangements under a proper legal framework for the transition, Madam Speaker, and I emphasize, transition from Halberton Hospital to the new state-of-the-art Mount St. John Medical Centre as the premier national healthcare facility in Antigua and Barbuda and in the OECS region. Madam Speaker, we wanted a board with an executive team in place to oversee the completion of Mount St. John and the phasing out of Halberton Hospital. So, as I said, the legislation was transitional and designed specific to serve a specific purpose, Madam Speaker, with a specific period of time, Mr. Minister. Madam Speaker, before moving into Mount St. John, however, detailed, wide-ranging, enabling legislation for the running of the medical centre would have to be introduced with adequate input from all the key stakeholders. Madam Speaker, this bill for the Mount St. John Medical Centre Act 2009 that we are debating this evening, it is eloquent, irrefutable testimony, Madam Speaker, of the comprehensive arrangements for the opening of Mount St. John Medical Centre that this government of deception inherited in March 2004. Madam Speaker, they met a US $31 million loan and a US $31 million project almost complete. The structure, that is the building, the infrastructure was complete in accordance with the architectural designs of Watkins, Carter and Hamilton, the architects out of Texas. You have them. The finishing work, Madam Speaker, and the equipment installations were already started. All the computer hardware and the software specifications were complete. Madam Speaker, the US $7 million Siemens arrangement for the supply of a large chunk of the equipment was already successfully negotiated. Joey John actually flew up to Germany, Madam Speaker, where he sat with the Siemens people. He negotiated this loan on very concessionary terms, Madam Speaker, where a moratorium was granted to the government and people of this country. And I think I stand corrected where the interest rate was somewhere in the vicinity of 4 or 5%. Very concessionary terms. equipment was actually on island, some of which was actually installed already in Harberton Hospital, Madam Speaker. The training process had already begun. The Siemens people actually came down to Antigua and actually started the training process. Madam Speaker, the Siemens equipment included all of the radiology and imaging equipment. All the patient monitors, all the ventilator and respiratory equipment, all of the anesthesia equipment, as well as all other operating room equipment, complete, Madam Speaker, with 5-year service contracts and training contracts. So all that was done, Madam Speaker. They did not have to go and reinvent the wheel. Furthermore, the US $7 million in additional funding from Exim Bank, which the member for St. John's Rural North spoke about earlier, from the Exim Bank, Madam Speaker, in China, that was successfully negotiated by the previous administration. It was negotiated and it was approved prior to the UPP coming into office, Madam Speaker. That $7 million US, Madam Speaker, was to cover cost overruns, if there was any, and additional buildings not originally negotiated in the original loan agreement with Mr. Stanford for the US $31 million. Madam Speaker, it is an irrefutable fact that the Chinese and the project manager had assured us that upon drawing down on that loan and paying them in full, they would deliver the completed building to us 6 to 9 months later. And that, Madam Speaker, I believe was in February or late January 2004. And there's correspondence, Madam Speaker, on file that they have, but they wish not to show the public. What was left to be done was the procurement of the remainder of the already specified equipment. They didn't come and specify the equipment, so it was already spec'd out. And what was left was to get that additional funding. And truth be told, Mr. Minister, we had an offer on the table from the